Running Sentences presents Work, Work, and More Work. Part 1. The Start of Something. 3 workers have been tasked to complete a project for the cyclical, and roundabout company. This is a mishmash of workers who generally don't get along, and, well, they're presented with a difficult project. This story is written and narrated by Michael Honore. It is a work of fiction, so any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, situations, characters, businesses, events, and/or fictional businesses, characters, events, and so on is purely coincidental. Copyright 2025, Michael Honore. All rights reserved. The plush, often overly ornate office that Bruno walked into felt completely different from the last time he'd been here. That had only been a week ago, but things had definitely at least been moved about in his boss's office, or one of his boss's offices. For his part, Mikhail sat behind his desk that was pushed all the way back so that it was close to a window looking up the dozen or so stories below, to the ground and to the city around it.
Bruno, I'm glad you could come make it in time to see me.
Yes, I would of course do that for you, boss, no doubt, but you call and I come running. You did call me, right?
Yes, I just said you made it in time to come see me. I would think that a whole call to see you would be implied.
Right, gotcha. What can I do for you?
Sit for a moment while I get this file out.
Mikhail indicated a small chair across from the desk, so Bruno moved over to that and sat down on it as quickly and quietly as possibly as he could. I do hope it's something good. I put my heart and soul into this company, going the extra mile, even with projects that weren't so important.
Yes, we've noticed, and your work has been noticed and noted. That's why you're given an extra, important, special project this time around. A secret one.
A heavy, thick file was slapped down onto the desk in front of Mikhail, who flashes a grin towards Bruno. Oh, what?
Your own team, your own super important project that will help this company and a lot of freedom to do exactly how you think it should be done.
Well, that's amazing.
I know, it's great. We're relying heavily on you to get this done.
Yes, this is awesome, amazing. I'll take whatever you got. Give it to me so I can get my team to work on it right away. Mikhail's smile widened as he held up the file for Bruno.
There are a couple of things now, of course, but you've already accepted, so this is good. 1, you have limited money to make this work. 2, your team is going to be small and have already been picked out for you. 3, you cannot question any of the decisions made by the higher-ups. But to that last point, I know you wouldn't even consider such a thing because you love us so. All you need to know is in this great grand file. With an overly eager nod yes, Bruno took the file and began looking it over. Don't stay here and read it.
No, your team is waiting to meet you in meeting room 7B. Get a move on. There was a nod from Bruno as he rose from his seat and still kept looking over the first few pages of the project. He managed to keep himself moving and got out of there. Emerging from the elevator while trying to speed read this file, Bruno took a quick snap look about the place. The 7th floor was a long hallway of offices and meeting rooms that seemed to go on and on, as they were a maze that went around this level, never keeping straight for too long, but still feeling all too long. Luckily, the room 7B wasn't too far off, and there was a worker playing with his phone standing not far off from the marker for the door. Bruno charged off that way, chest puffing out in excitement and conquering this monumental task, but also catching the eyes of Jess, who, with his long hair and must style, never fit in with this company. The man was also one of the biggest slackers in the company, and always seemed to get away with it.
Please tell me you're going to some room to work on some weird, crazy project. That I am, Jess, but it is the room you're next to. Oh, great, just great. And why is that? Go inside and find your team to find out why, Mr. Bruno. Eyeing the man, Bruno moves to the door to the meeting room. He doesn't trust this one bit, but the company would never set him up to fail, so... A plain meeting room with a short table that sat only 7 people came into view. There was a young woman who Bruno had never met that sat at the table typing away at her laptop, and no one else. The only other thing in this place was a whiteboard attached to the far wall, and then there was the coffee machine set on a table next to it that had no way of making it work. "Hello, are you part of my team?" Bruno asked. "They said that I have to report here for work from now on, so I guess that would make me a part of your team." Lindsay points behind Bruno, who quickly steps to the side to let Jess, who'd been standing outside, in. "This is all you're going to get from this company. Us 2 workers." "Well, that can't be true." "We're the best and the brightest for this project, apparently," Jess responded dryly. Bruno stepped further into the room, then over to the table so he could put his folder down. Then, as he was standing near the head of the table, pushed out his chest to make sure that these 2 knew he was in charge. "Why would the company give me, you, to work with, Jess? You're the worst worker, and this other one, I have no idea who you are or how well you work. No offense, miss." "I take complete offense to that. Do not judge me just because you're the company's very special boy." "Well, I would rather be elsewhere, but to keep my job I have to be here, so here I am, Mr. Bruno. I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, let's get this over with." "This is a very important project. We can't have anyone just messing things up, or messing up anything about it." "Are you going to ignore my comments, Mr. Bruno?" "No, I won't. I apologize for offending you, but I need people working with me, not against me, and I don't know you, so I don't know what you're doing." "I work with lots of people I do not know and get things done. And what about you, Mr. Jess? Do you do work?" Lindsay bitterly complained. "Yeah, when the company needs work, Miss Lindsay, I work with whoever I need to, and as is the case here, that's what I'm here to do. So what exactly are we doing?" "We are not doing anything together, Jess." "Well, okay, perhaps you can call whoever gave you this task and job and project to ask for a change. I have no objections to not working with a goody two-shoes, or being here. I respect and put lots of effort into my work. As a result, the company has rewarded me with my own project, you 2. I will not have your shallow, sallow work clogging up my efforts." With a growl, Bruno stuck his hands into his pockets to pull out his cell phone, but paused as he began dialing the number. "Are you afraid of something? You look like you realize that calling your boss so quickly upon getting this job won't look good for you. It probably won't, by the way, especially for the one who is so loved by the execs here." "No, I am not, Miss Lindsay." "Then call up this person and get this sorted out." No, that will not be necessary. I can assign you menial work so that it will not affect the project, Mr. Jess. You are Miss Lindsay, correct?" "Yes, my name is Lindsay George. I generally work in the department that works on contracts. What department do you work in, Jess?" "Well, I'm all over wherever the next department pushes me. I work all around and all over, and to whatever the next department, my previous department, pushes me off to." "Because they all hate you?" Lindsay questioned. I guess, maybe. I'm not some slave to be ordered around, and will follow through on making sure that only the company line is what I do, so sure, it gets me in trouble with people. Hence why you're hated and no one wants to work with you, Jess, Bruno pointed out. And yet I wind up working on lots of different groups at this company. For someone they hate, they haven't found a reason or way to fire me yet. Something strange about all of that. Lindsay sat up in her chair and knocked on the table to get Bruno's attention. He had to admit, with so much going on, he felt all over the place that it sort of did help concentrate him for a moment. You have your team. Now what is this project? That's a very important question. What are we doing, Mr. Bruno? It is a research and development deal in improving work environment. Both looked doubtfully at him, and he did his best to shrug that look off. How are we going to deal with an impossible task? Jess inquired. No, not impossible, just highly improbable that we get our way, Jess. What's the budget for this, Mr. Leader? We have 100,000 to make all of this work. To make what work? Lindsay questioned, annoyed that no answers were coming straight away. An experimental procedure to improve morale and speed up the process of work. Well, that is simple. Is it, Jess? Yeah, Lindsay. Pay everybody more money, and maybe cut their work hours so that a 4-day work week, usual stuff. Bruno waves away that idea with a wave of his hand to make sure it's dismissed. No boss is going to accept that answer, Mr. Jess. What are they expecting to accept, then? Lindsay asked with a sigh. Well, I'm not entirely sure on that, and that is what we must find out by doing research. Why not just hire a program, call it a day after automating the entire process of whatever we're doing? Why make more work for ourselves when it can just be given to someone else? Our time is more important than this. They would love that, wouldn't they? The higher-ups, I mean. But on that budget, Jess, we'd blow through it and not even have enough to pay for our own contributions. The file says it has to be an organic solution, so we can't hire outside sources, Bruno said, trying to gain control over the situation. What exactly do you mean? Jess asked. We just can't hand it off to someone else to do it for us. No outside hiring for this. Okay, next question then, Bruno. Do you want a written out report, or can we just leave a suggestion on the desk of somebody by the end of the day? I would recommend doing the latter, though. Simple job, simple, easy process. Don't want to work, Jess? Well, no, I'd rather spend my time doing something constructive. I don't know what that would be at this moment, but that's not the point, is it, Lindsay? If they want this done quickly, then it would be cheaper and more effectively to spend the rest of the day coming up with that recommendation and just handing it off to them. Bruno shook his head no, savagely. He was not about to let this simple thing happen. He'd been given a team and a budget for a reason. The company wanted something substantial, and he was going to deliver that. No, this will be a well-thought-out project. We will take our time and we will work on it together. For the most part, you'll be menial tasks, Mr. Jess, and your part won't be as big. So do we have a time frame for when this is supposed to be done? They don't set one, but I'm setting one for 4 weeks from now. So, we need to get busy. Miss Lindsay, if you could go research into improving morale and work environment, and Jess, I need you to find out about competitors and anything they might be up to. What will you be up to, boss of bosses? Figuring out more of this file and all that it's going to work and rereading it. This is our office from now on, but only when you need to talk to me and when we need to have meetings. Just, this is generally our office, but we're keeping it simple and clean. Keep your workspaces here, but, don't really interact with one another unless you have to. Go do your work now. Bruno looked over both of them as they slowly meandered their way to the door and out of the meeting room. Having done some research, but not all that much, Jess had taken a break on the second floor of the office break room. It was one of the more well-supplied rooms, thanks to the fact that the research team on this level demanded it to be so. And since he was so well known around the place, no one questioned him when he showed up. Jess had just grabbed a snack from a pile of snacks when he turned to see Lindsay walk in, combing her fingers through her blonde, sandy hair. "No luck?" "No. You?" "I looked, but no one is out and out talking about their company secrets." She strolled over to the coffee maker and began the process of making a cup. After a moment, she turned back to face him with a frown. "This is a weird project, right, Jess?" "Yep, and we have a weird boss. He assigned us to do the same thing, and that is all we were to do. Nothing further than that, which seems rather silly." "Have you worked with him before?" A few times, none of which ended well thanks to him not liking my work effort, of course." "You don't give much effort, or at least that's what the rumors say, Jess." "Well, they would be right. Why waste a lot of energy on a corporation that is going to fail to reward me for my efforts?" "A good referral for when you leave?" "This isn't the type of company who does nice things for its workers." "True, we've seen quite a few layoffs lately, and yet you've managed to survive." "Well, I think it's that they can't fire me if they don't know where I am or what department I'm currently working for, can they?" "Yet they found you again and assigned you to do this." Jess offered her a shrug since he didn't know what to say about that, but it wasn't that big a deal. If they wanted him gone, he would be. "If you don't mind me asking, what type of worker are you?" "That's a bit straightforward." "I think it's best to get to the point, Miss Lindsay. Why waste more time?" "All you do is waste time with your work until the last minute." "Yes, sort of, but stuff does get done in the end, so no one can complain. Much." She shook her head as the coffee machine beeped and she got her cup of coffee. "As for my work effort, it tends to be middle things. I work hard, but I will not go all out. It makes no sense to." "I agreed on that front. Work is nothing but a nuisance where we go for money because someone else decided we are worth X amount of money." "Are you getting paid well for work here?" "Maybe, I doubt it. Maybe yes, maybe no. It's complicated. What about you?" "Enough so that I have money left over after taxes." "And then we've been thrown in this extra work with no extra pay for all we're doing." "And that actually brings up an interesting question." She said this as she stood up straight. "Do we still have to do our old jobs that we were hired for while we're working on this?" He shook his head and shrugged. "That would be a question for the boss. I would hope not, but too much work makes a bad worker, so hopefully no." She shook her head and then took a sip of her cooling coffee. "Is that any different from how you've ever been, making yourself a bad worker?" "Well, I can be motivated in the right circumstances, but this company is never going to pay the money for that." He tossed the snack into the air, catching it in his hand as he headed out the door to get to some work. With her cup of coffee in hand, Lindsay, shortly after this little conversation, went back to her little office space on the second floor as the research area. This was not her regular office, as the space for this was set out for more communal research for workers to do. Long tables stretched out with computers on them, each of them free for whatever was needed. "Back again." "Yes, Chad, I went out for coffee. Please do not think of this as your chance to hit on me." "I would never." "You would. Don't pretend you don't like talking to all of the pretty ladies who come to this section." "Ruthless as always. What are you up to, and can I help you in some way?" "Looking up morale and streamlining businesses, unless you know something about that." He gave her a quizzical look as she sat down at the computer she'd been at previously. A slow nod came from him as he came up with some ideas in his head. You mean like that famous car company? I guess I don't know which one you're referring to. Yeah, they had this mantra about doing things the right way, to the utmost degree of fixing things. It's pretty strange, but I only heard about it in passing. You wouldn't happen to know their name, would you? Sorry, nope, don't think I do. She found herself growling in frustration while trying to keep it as quiet as possible. No need to upset the man since he did offer a little help. Jet, are you making yourself a nuisance again? I would never dream of doing such a thing, Andrea. I would never do it. By the way, do you know of a car company that is all about streamlining work? Andrea, the nosiest of nosy people, had come over. She was the head of this department and wanted to know everything about people's work. Lindsay, instead of paying attention to them, looked about to spot Jess, who sat off in a corner, completely unbothered by anyone, and she wished she was him for once. Is that what you're looking at, miss? Lindsay replied, confused by the question from Andrea. What project are you working on? Oh, I'm working on something to help give the business greater insight into such things. The project is currently under wraps so forgive me, but it's about streamlining things. Miss Andrea? Oh, yes, I understand the secrecy, and I can easily say, I won't bother you. But by the way, I've never heard of this car company thing. Well, that's good to know, and thank you for your help. Perhaps you should go ask Jess over there if he needs help. The two made faces that said they would rather not, and quickly walked off, leaving Lindsay alone. Bruno bit his lip for what felt like the 10th time in the past minute. Today had gone from interesting to not so great over the course of the morning and afternoon, and into the early evening. Those two who had sent to do research were now back in the meeting room, one with a downcast face, and the other not the least bit bothered by anything. You're telling me that your research led you nowhere? Yes. There's always tomorrow, though, unless you have plans for us to be doing something different. We need to keep things moving forward. Sitting around staring at a computer screen with the internet open is not one of the tasks to keep us moving, but, it's out there, Bruno said. It could, but you seem to be set against it. Maybe I keep researching and you two get to the real work? That is what we're going to do, right? That's what you wanted us to do anyway, right? Jess volunteered. It could be a good option. Jess was getting lots of work done while I was getting frustrated with my searches into things. Maybe he's better at that. Well, appearances can be deceiving, Miss Lindsay, and also you're so popular and as well as pretty, you draw people to you. I'm guessing they wanted to help and have a conversation with you. Yes, that may be true, but you still got some work done, right? The same amount as you, with less distractions, Lindsay. Meaning the answers might not be on the internet, and companies might not want us to know about what they're doing. Please stop arguing, you two. It will get us nowhere. Well, our day is almost over, and it wasn't successful. It's hard not to be a little snappy and snippy when all I want to do is get back to my original work. Well, yes, actually, and Lindsay brought up a good point. Do we still have to do our original jobs on top of this one, or are we only working on this? Yes, please say that we aren't being overburdened with the original work we were assigned to. Bruno looked at them with a worried look, and it causes a deep frown to crease his face. I say no, but seek out your bosses to make sure that they are aware of the situation, and if they have any further orders for you in that situation. So we're all going to work twice as hard for the same amount of pay. This is an honor, and we will treat it as one, yes. Work demands lots of sacrifices. Well then, You can pay the price, Bruno. I will keep things going at the rate they're going. Pay me more if you want me to work more. Which is why you're never relied upon for much. Bruno growled at him. Our day is over, boss, and now you two are arguing and I don't want to listen to it, so if there's anything else you need from us, can you say it now, or can we get out of here? I don't think you can afford the overtime pay, not on the first day of this, Jess pointed out, gloating a little bit. Yes, you two, shut up and go home. This day is done, but be here bright and early tomorrow. I need you ready for the challenges that we have ahead of us. Jess strolled up to the front desk the next morning as security was doing its usual check of badges and keeping people from getting anywhere. He pulled his out and joined the line, waiting for their turn, even if it was moving pretty quickly. That was until it got to him. Mr. Jess. Yes, Jess replied as he held up his badge towards the guard who held up a scanner that wouldn't say yes or no and allow him to go over to the elevators to get to the office. You have a problem. What did I do this time? You didn't update your information. We can't let you in until you get a new badge and update your address and stuff, the guard announced. They're still caught up on this? My old badge is good enough. You either do it or you're not going to work today. You might potentially get fired for letting this continue on its way. Jess felt his mouth twist into a semi-frown of annoyance and frustration. All this company ever wanted was information, be it employees or whatever they could scrap, borrow, or buy off of people, and humanity. It was an endless loop that they would get what they wanted, just it was a matter of time. And I only have the next few minutes of deciding on this. Yeah, I believe so, sir. With a glance around him and noticing both Bruno and his old boss Emily chatting with each other not far back in line, Jess saw, and they had already noticed him and, well, expectations that needed to be survived for a while longer by making more money. Is this gonna take long, security? Only as long as you draw it out, sir. To that, he had to fight back a grin that was forming. Giving him that sort of information was a terrible idea. I take it then this is done back at the security booth or security office or something like that? Down in the basement. I'll have Cassie over here take you on down if that's okay. Yes, gave a hearty nod, yes. Lindsay shuffled into the contracts office as she fought back a yawn. Before she could get on to the little new project that she'd been assigned to, she needed to see her old boss. Aria was a pristine woman with nary a thing out of place about her, and even stood near the office door greeting people as they came in. Miss Lindsay, what brings you to our department? Weren't you ripped away from here? Yes, Aria, I was told to check in and make sure that I didn't have to work here, as well as on the new project I was assigned to. Ah yes, that would actually be smart to know about. Karen, if you could please get that file from my office. It should be on the desk. A worker scurries away and then comes back, holding out a piece of paper a few moments later. Ariel takes it and examines it for far too long. Well, do I have to do double time or no? It doesn't specify, but I'm going to go ahead and say no. I don't need distracted workers gumming up the works around contracts. That would just be a disaster. You are free to be a part of the project without worry about my work. Bruno sat in the meeting room he'd been assigned to and stared at the empty space where his two workers were supposed to be. So far, this important job was not going well or to plan at all. The door opened as Lindsay came in with a small wave hello. Jess isn't around. He got caught up in security this morning. Is he being fired? Bruno shook his head no as sadly as he could. From what I could see while I was waiting to get in, They wanted to update his information and give him a new ID card or something like that, which I'm sure he'll use to take up as much of the day as possible because that's the type of worker he is. Oh, Lindsay responded. Yes, it's only us for now, and we should get to work. Right, sounds fair. And I went and talked to my boss, so I'm only assigned to this project, and what do you need from me this morning? Anything different from yesterday, or more of the same? I can do either, just to let you know. Sit and look through these papers. They need to be sorted. I'm a glorified paper sorter?
Lindsay demanded to know, surprised that this was her job now.
Yes, these files need to be moved and sorted through as our boss assigned them to us this morning. Why did he do that? In order to see how workers deal with under such circumstances. Our bosses want us to get the full experience so that they know on a base level where things might be falling apart,
he said.
She stared at him for a moment. I think we are both well aware of how such things work in the first place. I don't need to do it. I'm sorry, but there will be no questions about what the bosses want. He gave her a sharp look to warn her off from saying anything else or any further complaints. He'd had far too many of them from his own projects and workers, and more would simply not be stood for. No, this was the line he was going to draw. Once she'd started in on her work, he heaved a sigh and got back to his of trying to figure out what he wanted this project to be. The two security officers looking over just didn't bother him. He thought the fact that they had to watch him was pretty amusing as he slowly went through the questionnaire he'd been given. Jess had been sure to ask lots of questions about these questions in order to get the answers right. After all, he didn't want to make a mistake, and this had taken him into the afternoon. Are you done yet? Almost. You need to take a photo and print my ID, I take it. Why did this take so long? I didn't want to mess up, security officer. More like you didn't want to work. We've been warned about you. The security guard with the name tag Bobby on it pointed a finger stiffly at him. And yet you happily went along with it, Miss Bobby. It had to be done, otherwise the higher-ups would be angry. Just let it go, Bobby. And we can't make them angry now, can we? Just shut up, you, and let's just finish this up, shall we? The security guard with the name tag Lewis growled. Just raised his hands as if innocent of all charges as he rose and was led to a nearby wall. There he had his photo taken, and they started the processing of his papers. Alright, this project will be done by later this afternoon. The company didn't splurge out for a card printer that could get the job done sooner. They gave us what they gave us. Our sector doesn't get some of the funds that others do. You simply have to wait until it's done before you can enter the building properly. Jess felt the grin on his face broaden just a bit more. Oh, don't worry about that. I can go out and get lunch though, right? That won't be a problem?
No problem at all. The badge will probably be waiting for you when you return from lunch. Lewis mumbled.
Emerging from the basement level, Jess made it all a few steps before the door when a voice stopped him. Good to see you again, Jess. Is it really, boss? Or one of my many bosses?
Last time we talked, you were trying to find a way to fire me. Old news and old things to be long forgotten about.
Are you going to get lunch? Don't answer that. You're coming with me. Cold, firm hand grabbed at his arm and kept him moving towards the door to get out of the office. End of part 1
of Work, and More Work.
Thank you for listening.